The clinic was silent, except for the soft whirring of an old ceiling fan and the steady ticking of a worn-out clock on the wall. It was one of those small clinics you'd find tucked away in the forgotten corners of rural Georgia. Just 2 nurses worked there full-time, and the power often flickered out during thunderstorms. But for the people in the nearby villages, this place was a lifeline. Then it happened. The clinic door burst open. A tall, well-dressed man in a perfectly tailored suit stumbled in, gripping his chest. His shoes were covered in dirt, his face pale, and his lips turning blue. A loud thud followed as he collapsed face-first on the tiled floor. Blood trickled from his mouth. "Nurse!" someone screamed from the waiting room. Cassie Rivers, the head nurse, rushed from behind the counter, her dark curls bouncing as she ran. She dropped to her knees beside him, fingers trembling as she checked his pulse. He had one. But it was faint. The room filled with tension. Patients stood frozen. A child started to cry. Cassie leaned down, putting her head to his chest, listening for any sign of a heartbeat. He wasn't just any man. Even in this rural backroad town, people recognized Trevor Dalton, the billionaire owner of one of the largest tech companies in the country. What on earth was a man like him doing here? Cassie looked up, breath caught in her throat. His pulse was fading fast. "We need to move him," she shouted. The other nurse helped her lift Trevor onto a stretcher and wheel him into the back room. The old clinic didn't have advanced equipment, just basic machines and a generator that kicked on with a sputter. Cassie worked fast. 4 in. Oxygen mask on. She pressed down on his chest, counting under her breath. 1, 2, 3. His eyes fluttered. Cassie gasped. And then, just as quickly, his body went still again. Outside the clinic, 3 black SUVs rolled up. The doors flung open. Men in black suits and earpieces rushed in. "Where is he?" one of them barked. Cassie didn't answer. She was too focused, too deep in the moment. She didn't even look up as she screamed, "We're losing him." The men backed off, letting her work. Everything hung in the balance. And then Trevor's hand moved. Cassie looked down just in time to see his eyes open. He stared at her. Not in confusion. Not in fear. But in awe. And in that split second, before his eyes rolled back and he passed out again, she felt it. A strange, unspoken pull. Like something inside her shifted. But there was no time to process it. Because the machine started beeping, loud and fast. His heart rate was crashing again. Cassie yelled, "I need adrenaline, now." And just as the other nurse handed her the syringe, the power went out. Total darkness. Only the sound of that beeping, slower, slower. Darkness swallowed the clinic like a storm cloud. Cassie froze for a second. The heart monitor flatlined, its beep disappeared into the dead silence. Her lungs tightened, but she didn't panic. Not Cassie. Not the girl who had once resuscitated a toddler using nothing but chest compressions and sheer determination while waiting for an ambulance that never came. "Flashlight," she barked. One of the guards pulled his phone from his jacket and turned on the flashlight. Its harsh white beam landed on Trevor's lifeless face, his body still and pale against the blood-stained pillow. Cassie didn't blink. She grabbed the syringe from the tray and drove it into his chest with a firm push. The room was silent. Seconds stretched like hours. Then. Beep. One faint tone. Beep. Beep. Another. Stronger. Cassie exhaled, shaking, her hands still pressed against his chest. The flashlight hovered behind her, casting her shadow over Trevor like a guardian. Sweat rolled down her temple. The generator sputtered twice, then finally hummed to life. Lights flickered back on. Machines rebooted. Trevor Dalton was alive. For now. The guard closest to her stepped forward. Is he stable? Cassie nodded slowly. Barely. His body is dehydrated. He's been under extreme stress. If we didn't get to him when we did, he wouldn't have made it. The man nodded curtly. We'll fly in better equipment. Cassie cut him off. No. You'll let him rest here. For now. He's not going anywhere until I say so. The guard blinked. Nobody had ever spoken to Trevor Dalton's security team like that. But Cassie didn't care who the man on the bed was. To her, he was a patient. And saving him came first. 3 hours earlier. Trevor Dalton had never seen a dirt road before that morning. Not like this. His private jet had landed at a small airport just outside of Sandersville, Georgia. He told no one why he was coming. Not even his assistant knew. He needed to be alone. To breathe. To escape the cameras, the board meetings, the fake smiles. The world knew him as the youngest tech billionaire in America, but no one knew that his heart was failing. Literally. He had been diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy 6 months earlier. Doctors told him he had time. They were wrong. The chest pain started while he was driving past a cotton field, trying to find some old farmland his grandfather once owned. By the time he saw the clinic sign, the pain had exploded through his ribcage like fire. He barely managed to push the car door open before blacking out. Trevor lay motionless, breathing now in steady rhythms. Cassie stood by his bedside, arms folded, staring at him like he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. Why here? Why now? And why, when his eyes had opened, had they looked so directly into hers, as if he already knew her? Cassie shook her head and looked away. She had no time for feelings. Not in this place. Not with a man who probably lived in penthouses and dined with senators. She turned to the guards. He'll need to stay overnight. You can sit in the hallway if you want. The tallest one spoke this time. We'll do that. Thank you, nurse. Cassie. Just Cassie. He nodded. Thank you, Cassie. Later that night. Cassie sat in the break room, sipping instant coffee and staring at the storm raging outside the window. Thunder cracked like the sky was splitting in half. The rain tapped rhythmically against the glass. She thought about Trevor. How his pulse had faded under her fingertips. How she had pressed her head to his chest, not just to hear, but to feel. Something about that moment stuck with her like a whisper she couldn't unhear. She didn't know it yet, but that single heartbeat would change everything in her life. Suddenly, her pager buzzed. Room 3, Trevor's room. She rushed down the hallway. When she entered, he was awake. Barely. His lips dry. His eyes dazed. He whispered, "Where am I?" "You're safe," she said softly. "You're in a clinic. You collapsed." His gaze met hers again. You saved me." Cassie nodded. "Yeah. I did." He stared at her for a long moment. Then smiled weakly. "Thank you, Angel." Cassie blinked. "What?" But Trevor's eyes closed again. And his heart monitor spiked once more. Only this time, not from danger. But something else. Something deeper. Something that would awaken the most unexpected love story. Cassie didn't sleep that night. She stayed in the hallway just outside room 3, legs tucked under her on the hard plastic chair, a blanket draped over her shoulders. The storm had passed, but her mind was still racing. Why had Trevor Dalton, a billionaire, driven alone to a forgotten village with a failing heart and no doctor in sight? The clinic's hallway lights buzzed softly. Crickets chirped outside the window. Everything was still. Until she heard it. A soft groan. Cassie bolted upright. She rushed into room 3. Trevor was awake. This time, fully alert. His cheeks had regained a bit of color, and the oxygen mask was off. His eyes searched the room, then landed on her. "You're still here," he said, his voice rough and low. "I never left," she replied. He gave her a lopsided smile. "You have a habit of saving lives?" She shrugged. "Only when rich guys fall on my floor." Trevor chuckled, then winced. "Ouch. Don't make me laugh. That hurts." "You're lucky it wasn't worse," she said, checking the foredrip. "You're severely anemic. Your potassium is dangerously low. You've been pushing yourself." He looked away. "I haven't exactly had the time to take care of myself lately." Cassie paused, then asked, "Why were you even out here?" Trevor looked at her. Long and quiet. Then he said something that caught her completely off guard. "I was looking for a tree." Cassie blinked. "A tree?" He nodded. "My grandfather planted a peach tree here 50 years ago. Said it was the only place he ever felt peace. He used to say, if my heart ever gives out, I hope it happens under that tree. I guess I just wanted to feel what he felt. One last time." Cassie felt her throat tighten. She hadn't expected something so personal. So human. He continued. "I don't have peace in my world, Cassie. Not one bit. But when I opened my eyes and saw you, it felt like I'd found it. Even if only for a second." Cassie froze. Her fingers twitched. Trevor stared at her like she was a light in a long, dark tunnel. Later that week, Trevor refused to be moved. Despite his security team's protest, he insisted on staying in the clinic. "I'm not leaving yet," he said. "I want to recover here." Quietly. His team set up a temporary privacy perimeter outside the building, and soon, whispers began to travel across the village. Kids peered in the windows. Locals started stopping by with home-cooked meals and baskets of fruit. Everyone wanted a glimpse of the city man who fell at Nurse Cassie's feet. And every day, Cassie treated Trevor like he was just another patient. No special treatment. No pampering. She brought him his meds, cleaned his floor, checked his vitals. But something was changing. Every time their hands brushed, her heart skipped. Every time he asked her a question about her life, she found herself answering a little too honestly. And when he laughed, she couldn't help but smile. But Cassie had a secret too. 5 years ago, she had left behind a scholarship to a major medical school in New York after her father suffered a stroke and her mother died in a car crash. She came home to raise her younger brother, bury her dreams, and run this underfunded clinic just to survive. She never told Trevor that. Not yet. Because deep down, she didn't want him to see her as someone who gave up. She wanted him to see her as strong. But Trevor? He already did. Then one morning, Cassie walked into room 3 to find Trevor sitting up, dressed in a white shirt, buttoning his cuffs. "Where do you think you're going?" she asked. "I feel better," he said. "I want to visit that tree." Cassie stared. "You're in no shape to drive, let alone walk down into the fields." Trevor smiled. "Will you come with me?" "Trevor. Please, Cassie. I need to find it. I need to know it's real." Her lips parted to protest, but the look in his eyes stopped her. So full of longing. So full of something she hadn't seen in a man's face in a long, long time. She nodded. "Fine. I'll drive." That afternoon, they drove down the bumpy road in Cassie's rusty old truck. Trevor's security detail followed closely behind in SUVs, but far enough not to ruin the moment. They found the tree. It stood alone in a quiet field, leaves dancing in the breeze, the sun cutting through its branches like golden silk. A small plaque at its base read, "To peace, and those who chase it." Trevor stood there silently, eyes wet, heart full. Cassie stepped beside him, their shoulders touching. "This is it," he whispered. "This is what I needed." Cassie turned to him. "And now what?" Trevor looked at her. And for the first time, he didn't answer with words. He took her hand. And she didn't pull away. But just as the warmth of the moment grew stronger, Trevor stumbled. His chest clutched. Cassie caught him. "Trevor. Trevor." She laid him gently under the tree. His eyes flickered. She pressed her head to his chest. "No, no, no. Not again." His heartbeat was there. Faint. But real. Cassie pulled out her phone. "Get the ambulance. Now." And this time, she wasn't just fighting to save a patient. She was fighting to save someone she was falling for. Trevor opened his eyes slowly. The ceiling looked unfamiliar, bright, smooth, high. Too clean to be the clinic's. The air smelled of sterile floors and fresh linen, and machines beeped steadily at his side. "Where?" he mumbled. "You're in the regional hospital," a soft voice answered. He turned his head, and saw her. Cassie. Sitting at his bedside, still wearing her nurse scrubs, but her hair was down this time. Her eyes were rimmed with exhaustion, but they lit up the moment he looked at her. "You're okay," she whispered. "You scared me back there." Trevor managed a weak smile. "Guess I wanted you to hold me again." Cassie rolled her eyes, but she couldn't hide the blush that spread across her cheeks. "I called the ambulance the second you collapsed," she said. "Your potassium crashed again. You were dehydrated. You pushed yourself too hard." He sighed. "Worth it. I saw the tree." She didn't respond right away. Her fingers brushed his hand, a quiet moment of understanding passing between them. "I thought I lost you again," she whispered. Trevor looked at her, eyes serious. "You brought me back. Twice. I don't know how to thank you." Cassie stared at him, then finally said, "Then don't." Trevor's brows furrowed. "What do you mean?" "Don't thank me. Just get better. Then, decide what you want. For real. Not for your company. Not for the cameras. Not for the world. For you." Trevor's smile faded. Because she was right. 2 days later. Trevor's security team was anxious. "We need to get you back to New York. The board is panicking. You've been offline for days. The press is starting to notice." Trevor sat on the hospital bed, for still in his arm, ignoring the suit standing in front of him. His eyes were on Cassie, who stood by the window, watching rain trail down the glass. He finally spoke. "I'm not ready to leave." The man blinked. "Sir. I'm staying here. At least a few more days. But the company can wait." Trevor's tone was sharp, final. The guard nodded reluctantly and stepped out of the room. Cassie turned to him slowly. "You're really staying?" Trevor nodded. "I've spent years working 16-hour days, flying around the world, building something that never let me breathe. But here, with you, I feel like I can finally exhale." Cassie walked over and sat beside him. "That sounds nice. But the real world isn't this simple, Trevor." "Then maybe the real world is broken," he replied. That evening, Cassie took Trevor out on a walk through the hospital garden. They moved slowly, side by side, his arm around hers for support. "I never asked," he said. "Why'd you become a nurse?" Cassie hesitated. Then she told him everything. About the scholarship. The accident. Her little brother. Giving it all up to come back to a crumbling town and run a clinic with more heart than resources. Trevor listened without interrupting. I never regretted it, she finished. But sometimes I wonder, what if? He squeezed her hand. Cassie, if I gave you a chance to go back, to finish what you started, would you? She frowned. What do you mean? Trevor stopped walking. I want to set up a foundation. Here. In this town. Build a new clinic. Fund your medical school, if you still want to go. You shouldn't have to choose between caring for others and chasing your dreams. Cassie stared at him in shock. Trevor, that's a lot. I've made more money than I'll ever need. But helping you? Helping this town? That would mean something. Tears welled in Cassie's eyes. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. She nodded, swallowing hard. I will. But just when everything felt right. Cassie returned to the clinic the next day to check in, and found reporters on the lawn. A black SUV she didn't recognize was parked at the curb. Paparazzi swarmed around it like bees, shouting questions, cameras flashing. Someone had leaked Trevor's location. Cassie's heart dropped. Inside the clinic, a woman in heels and sunglasses sat waiting. When Cassie stepped in, the woman stood. Cassie Rivers, I presume. Cassie nodded cautiously. The woman extended her hand. Ariel Ward. I'm Trevor Dalton's fiancé. The words hit Cassie like a punch to the chest. What? She whispered. Ariel smiled. Cold. Sharp. You didn't know. Oh, he probably forgot to mention it while recovering in your arms. Cassie stumbled back, her head spinning. Fiancé. Trevor was engaged. Ariel walked closer. He has a life. A legacy. A company. Don't fool yourself into thinking you can be part of it. You're a nurse. He's a Dalton. Stay in your world, sweetheart. She turned and walked out, leaving Cassie frozen. Her chest burned. Not from anger. From heartbreak. Because just when she thought her heart had found something worth fighting for, it broke in half. Cassie didn't cry in front of Ariel. She waited. Waited until the cameras disappeared, the heels clicked away, and the noise outside the clinic faded into silence. Then she shut herself in the supply closet. And finally let the tears fall. That night, Trevor was released from the hospital early. He looked stronger, his skin no longer pale, his eyes clearer. But when he stepped into the clinic asking for Cassie, her coworkers hesitated. She's not here right now, one of them said. She left early. He could feel it. Something was wrong. Trevor turned to his security guard. Where is she? She didn't say. But a woman came to see her earlier. Tall, red dress. Black SUV. Trevor's face darkened. He knew exactly who it was. Later that evening, Cassie sat alone at the old peach tree. Her knees drawn to her chest. The sun was setting, washing the sky in orange and lavender. The plaque glowed under the light. She didn't hear him approach. She only looked up when his voice broke through the wind. I didn't know she was coming. Cassie turned. But she's your fiancée. No, Trevor said. She was. A long time ago. Before the diagnosis. Before I realized I'd spent years with someone who loved my money, not me. I ended it months ago. Then why didn't you say anything? Cassie asked, her voice trembling. I was afraid, he said honestly. Afraid you'd think I was just another rich guy playing hero in a small town. She looked away. I'm not a prize you get for being generous, Trevor. I know, he whispered. You're the reason I'm alive. And not just because you saved my life. He knelt in front of her. I came here to find peace. What I found was you. Someone real. Someone brave. Someone who made me believe in life again. Tears filled her eyes. I'm scared. Because I know what it feels like to give everything for someone, and then be left behind. Trevor took her hand. Then don't jump. Not for me. Jump for us. Let's see where this goes. I don't care what the world says. I care about you. She searched his face, eyes trembling. And slowly. She nodded. Trevor pulled her into his arms under the old tree, her heartbeat pressed to his chest, where once there had been nothing but silence and pain, now there was warmth. Life. 3 months later. The new clinic stood tall where the old one once crumbled, modern, solar-powered, free for the community. Cassie didn't leave the village. Instead, she took weekend classes online to finish medical school. Trevor funded the program, but only after she made one rule. No favors. No skipping steps. I want to earn it. He smiled when she said it. That's why I love you. 1 year later. Cassie stood in a crisp white doctor's coat, her stethoscope around her neck. She walked into the clinic's recovery room and found a familiar face sitting up in bed. Trevor, again. He had a minor episode after traveling back from DC to attend a charity gala. You, she said with a smirk, just love collapsing in front of me, don't you? He chuckled. It's my favorite way to get your attention. She walked over, placed her head gently on his chest. Still beating, she whispered. He smiled. Because you're in it. He reached into his pocket. And pulled out a small box. Her breath caught. He opened it. Inside was a simple, elegant ring. No bodyguards. No cameras. No big speeches, he said. Just you and me. And this heartbeat that somehow found its rhythm, when it found you. Cassie's smile shook with emotion. She nodded. Yes. If you like this story, comment, share and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.